partial chapter of this already dictated, and I can put it at the end of this. So stay tuned. She came to Clancy Mountain to disappear. He was searching for something to fight for. Raina has a new name, a quiet life, and a past she's desperate to outrun. The last thing she wants is to be noticed, especially by Tanner, the soft-spoken Forest Service biotech who spends his days searching the mountain for a rare orchid that only blooms in shadow. Tanner sees her anyway. What begins as a tentative friendship slowly evolves into something deeper as Tanner becomes her protector and trusted ally, crumbling the walls Raina has built. Then the past crashes into the present, shattering the fragile safety she's created. Raina believes she's too broken for love. Tanner refuses to let her accept it. Now hidden within the protected borders of his family's farm, Raina begins to heal. As something real and deep begins to grow, she finds herself believing she could have a life she never thought she deserved, including love. In a town where roots run deep and love abides, sometimes the rarest things bloom in the most unexpected places. So there you go, Rare Blooms, A Life Rediscovered. It should be out, at least in ebook form, next week. Print, I'll release at the same time, but it takes a couple more days for it to get into retailers. But yeah, you should be able to buy this next week.
Tanner Shepherd nudged his horse's side with his heels and clucked under his tongue. Blaze walked straight ahead without hesitation, conditioned to follow the mountain trails. They were almost to the ridgeline after a long day of his work as a biological science technician for the USFS. Under the tree canopy, the temperature was 10 degrees cooler than below, a welcome perk of his job in summer. Birdsong was everywhere, overlaying the rustling of leaves by small animals foraging in the woods. He had rolled up the larger pieces of his equipment, strapped the pack behind the saddle. Saddlebags held smaller tools, such as his GPS camera, field notebook, a first aid kit, and other assorted tools of the job. Tanner's cell phone never left his belt holster, nor did his bear spray and firearm. Firearms for biotechs weren't officially allowed, but his supervisor had no issue with it as long as he completed a firearms safety course, which he had. Considering he was mapping in a more remote part of Clancy Mountain, even if Ch1Rare wasn't keen on it, he'd never go up there unarmed. With everything he needed for a survey that day on the far side of the mountain, he hummed to himself as Blaze picked his way along the trail. How did I get so lucky as to have this as my daily commute, he thought. Once they crested the ridge, they would leave behind the homes dotted along the front side of the mountain facing town, and venture into more remote territory. This was where he would most likely find the rare Clancy orchid, which was thought to bloom every 3 to 5 years. No one was sure if this was the year the orchids would show themselves. Biological mapping of rare species was his chosen specialty, but he had never seen one of those elusive flowers in person. His identification program, called iNaturalist, would allow him to photograph and identify the plant, log its location, but mask that location from the public, meaning the prying eyes of poachers. Blaze snorted, tossed his head, and danced off to the left. Tanner placed his hand on the horse's neck and spoke in soothing tones while scanning the brush to their right. He couldn't see what had spooked the palomino at first. No unusual sounds reached his ears, no large animals crashing through the brush. He was about to urge the horse to continue when his gaze landed on a pair of eyes 2 feet above ground level, peeking through the scrub at the side of the trail. He squinted to attempt a better focus in the dapple shade of the woods while still stroking Blaze's neck, but only the middle of the face was visible. What is that, a wolf? Gray wolves didn't inhabit the North Georgia mountains, and neither did red wolves anymore, but as a precaution, his right hand moved closer to his firearm. Rabies wasn't unheard of among canines in the state, though wolves rarely attack human beings. A sharp, loud whistle pierced the silence of the standoff, and as the animal turned, he caught an impression of the size and shape of its head and coloring. Too small, not a wolf. It was a large dog, a shepherd breed of some kind, it seemed. It took off in a flash toward the whistle. He listened until he could no longer hear the dog's bounding steps fading away. Whoever had emitted the whistle could be just about anybody, and Tanner wasn't eager to find out. Change of plans. His grandfather Isaac always told him discretion was the better part of valor. He tapped his horse's side and urged him away from the ridge, back down the mountain toward the ranger station, where he had parked his old red Toyota Tacoma pickup truck and horse trailer. Back at the ranger station at the base of the mountain, he watered Blaze, then loaded the horse back onto the trailer. He jogged to the door, knocked twice, and walked inside. Ranger Chase was at his desk talking on the phone and waved him to sit across from him. He was about 10 years older than Tanner, with curly brown hair and square-rimmed black glasses. "Will do," he said, and put down the landline. So, Shepherd, did you find anything good today? Tanner crossed one ankle over the other leg and lounged back in the chair, a welcome rest after all day in the saddle. Nah, not really. Collected a few specimens to press for a friend. Hey, is there someone living up on the ridge? Not that I know of. No one on the other side for sure, though you may see a few hikers occasionally. Why? Because I thought I saw a wolf up there. It startled Blaze. Not you too. What do you mean, me too? I've had 2 calls in the past week about wolf sightings. I told them we don't have any gray wolves in the state, but both hikers were sure they saw a wolf. Heck, grays were never here. The closest would be a red wolf. But they look very different from a gray and have been officially extinct in the state since the 1980s. The only remaining small population is up in eastern North Carolina, and I hear it's dwindling now. I told them they probably saw an extra large coy dog or a coyote. I bet I can explain those calls. At first, all I saw was the center of its face, mostly black with some reddish coloring, and its eyes looking at me from a wall of brush. We just stared at each other while I tried to keep Blaze from dumping me on my backside. Then I heard a whistle from up top, and it ran off in that direction. Definitely not a wolf. It was some kind of shepherd, but it didn't have German shepherd coloring. I ended my work day and called in my data because I didn't know who might be on the other end of that whistle. Are you sure no one is living up there? As sure as I can be. You think we have poachers? Anything's possible, I suppose. I better get home and rub down and feed Blaze, go see my family. I'll let you know if I encounter anyone tomorrow. Maybe I'll venture into the area the dog ran toward, see if I can find its owner. Have a good one, Morgan. You too. Go armed, friend, just in case. Tanner turned back to his ranger friend with an amused look on his face. You realize you're named after a bank, right? Gee, thanks for pointing that out. I had no idea. And you wonder why I chose a job where I don't see many people. Nah, I didn't wonder at all. Tanner chuckled as he walked out the door, then heard something hit the back of it with a thud as it clicked shut.